Hello, welcome to Sound and Fury Book Reviews. As usual, I am Tina. Today I am doing a book review of Through a Darkening Glass by R.S. Maxwell. This is a mystery period piece coming out January 1st, 2023 from Lake Union Publishing. I received this arc from NetGalley in exchange for a fair review. There are no spoilers in this review. So a slow burn mystery that reads like a novel of the time, Through a Darkening Glass is an absolute delight for those of us who enjoy authentic feeling period pieces with little to no drama, but which are nonetheless compelling. What is it about? England, 1940. Literature student Ruth Gladstone evacuates Cambridge University for Martinsborough, a tiny English village with a shadowy history. For Ruth, retreating to a forgotten corner of the country is more than a safety maneuver. It's an opportunity to end an undesirable engagement and begin writing her first novel. But upon her arrival, Ruth learns of a ghostly wraith haunting the villagers after decades of silence. Although Ruth is enthralled by the legend, the locals are less charmed by the wraith's return. They blame the evacuees, and among them Ruth, for stirring up restless spirits. Undeterred, Ruth joins forces with Malcolm, an injured soldier, to unravel the mystery of the wraiths. As Ruth and Malcolm draw closer to the truth, they'll unearth long-buried secrets that could threaten them both, even as they craft a forbidden love story of their own. There are two things to note about this novel. One, it takes a bit to get going. I was just kind of coasting through it until about 50%, and then I got hooked on it after that. And two, it is a period piece instead of a historical fiction. As such, it reads not like the narrator is describing a time in the past, but feels like it was written back then. This is my preferred kind of historical fiction, actually, so I was right on board. I love wandering antique shops or garage sales and finding these old coverless books that for like $1. I have some here. Like this one, The Arm of Gold by Ralph Connor. There's Goodbye, Mr. Chips from James Hilton. There is Captain Adam by Childesley. I can't remember the guy's first name. And then this one I haven't read, actually, The Dark Wood by Christine Weston. This one, I liked this one because it had such a cool, interior. Anyway, yeah, I love these old books. I find them charming and quaint. And this book kind of felt like one of those, which I really enjoyed. I liked the characters. The main character, Ruth, is likable, but also feels like a woman of the time. She's modest, but she's not a prude. She's smart, she stands up for herself, and she takes action. She questions some things about her society, but it didn't feel anachronistic. And the things she questioned related to the past. For example, like how back in the late 1800s, male and female friends could walk arm in arm, versus how that was seen as scandalous in the 40s. So she felt like a product of a time rather than like a modern sentiment wearing 1940s clothes. She definitely was not too modern in that she felt like she was out of place. This is really hard to do because, as we probably know, the 1940s had some social kind of opinions that are problematic, regarding gender, LGBTQ plus relationships, race, amongst other things. So to create a character who feels authentic to that time period but isn't, I guess, offensive to us now is really hard to do, and I really appreciated how that she pretty much nailed this, and I thought that was fantastic. So Malcolm isn't the most exciting of brooding male leads, though, I will say. He's no Mr. Rochester. But we have Maud, a friend and side character of Ruth's, to balance him out. She's a tall, lesbian-coded, at least I read her that way, pants-wearing geology professor who's full of snark and life, and I really liked her, and I think the book would have suffered if she hadn't been in it, so I really liked when she kind of came back into the story. When it comes to the romance angle, it's very much not as thrilling as the blurb makes it sound. In fact, while it's not subtle, it's not exactly passionate. The characters react to their feelings in a logical, almost pragmatic way, which, while it might be kind of realistic, especially to the time period, it doesn't make for much of like a bodice ripper or give you a huge payoff in the end emotionally. I would actually hesitate to call this book a romance at all, though there is a romance angle that is quite prevalent. As much as I do like the, I would die without you, I love you most ardently kind of scenes in books, I liked the relationship between Ruth and Malcolm. They seemed well suited, and what was keeping them apart made sense. The book is a mystery, though, at the forefront, with their relationship tying in but not taking over. Honestly, I think this book would make a fantastic movie. Speaking of the mystery, it's a fun novel with several little twists that tie into one another. There was one twist I saw coming a mile away, which, though, if you know anything about LGBTQ plus relationships in the eras before gay rights, you'll likely pick up on it as well. But it was still satisfactory in its result, and the other twists were really fun. Nothing made me sit up and go, oh my god, what? But there were some red herrings to keep from guessing the story's outcome, and overall it wrapped up very nicely, and it was intricately plotted. And it was plotted intricately enough to make me really like the story. I also liked how the novel skipped the melodrama. I was fully expecting a certain character to lose it and cause huge issues for the other characters, but this didn't happen. It was settled off the page in a way that was actually refreshing. It was nice to not have to deal with that nonsense, so that was good. The setting is fun too, in that it's a World War II era novel where the war doesn't really come into it after the initial pages. It shows what life was like for people in the countryside, not the cities. The town seemed quaint, and I liked the two roaming escaped sheep that pop up here and there. It reminded me of when I was in Ireland a few years ago, and so we were visiting that Skellig Island, which is in the new Star Wars movies, and we actually went there between the filmings of Force Awakens and The Last Jedi. So we got there before all like the Star Warsy tourists got there, and it's a beautiful island. If you can never visit it, I highly recommend it. Anyway, after that we went to the pub, and then we saw this kind of building on a hill, and we're like, hey, let's walk and see what that building is. So we were walking, and then my one friend was like, I don't want to walk to that, I'm just gonna sit here. And so we came back to find him asleep in this field, and there were all these sheep milling around him. So I have a picture of one of the sheep here. Anyway, I thought that was really, that these two roaming sheep in the story really reminded me of that day in Ireland, and I thought that was really fun. I also really enjoyed the brief. Oh, and the reason the sheep has spray paint on it is that's how they keep track of whose sheep is who over there. They don't have them fenced in, they just free roam around, and so they just spray paint the sheep so they know whose sheep is which. I thought that was really fun. Anyway, I also really enjoyed the brief, tantalizing look we get at the reason for the butterfly or moth on the cover of the novel. That scene felt like it fell right out of a gothic mystery, and I loved it. It was like a creepy butterfly conservatory. One time I took my kid to the butterfly conservatory near us, and the butterflies loved me. I don't know why. There was one that refused to leave my shoulder. I've got a picture of that too. This is just memories abound day, apparently. Yeah. Anyway, so one other thing I really liked was that at the end, the author included some explanations for some very minor inaccuracies in the story in terms of the time period. I thought that was really cool, and I liked that she explained that because I didn't pick up on any of them because they're very, very, very subtle. And I think people that really love the 40s, I'm more of a 30s or 70s kind of person, would have picked up on it more. But I thought that was really cool. So yeah, this is like a sleeper novel. I was intrigued by the blurb. It started off a bit slow, but by the end I really loved it. I really liked it, and I highly recommend it if you like slow burns, slightly creepy but more interesting mysteries, moths, and the English countryside. I can't do accents, and I will never do an accent again on this channel, I promise. Thank you again to the publisher for the e-arc. You know, if you have any physical arcs lying around, feel free to reach out. I would gladly take one off your hands. And yeah, so thanks everybody, and I hope you enjoyed that.